You're sitting on the couch, remote in hand, scrolling through a sea of soundbars that promise cinema-level immersion, but you can't shake the feeling that you'll end up spending a lot of money on something that either drowns out dialogue or just feels like an overpriced TV speaker. It's a real worry because the last thing you want is to invest in a system that sounds great on paper but leaves you squinting at subtitles during the big reveal. I felt that same hesitation when I started looking at the Yamaha TrueX-Bar 90A, so I dug into the specs, checked the connectivity options, and tried to picture how it would actually behave in a typical living room setup. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the 3.1.2 channel layout is Yamaha's way of saying you get a full-range front channel, a dedicated wireless subwoofer, and 2 height channel drivers baked right into the bar for Dolby Atmos. That's a lot of talk about height and surround, but what does it mean for you when you press play on a movie? In practice, the height drivers fire upward, creating that sense of rain falling or a helicopter whizzing overhead. In a medium-sized room, think about 12 by 15 feet, you'll actually notice those effects without having to mount extra speakers on the ceiling. The result feels more three-dimensional than a plain 2.0 or 2.1 bar, which is exactly what the Atmos badge promises. Dialogue clarity is where many soundbars stumble because they push the bass too far forward. The Yamaha TrueX uses Yamaha's proprietary clear voice processing, which separates speech frequencies from the rest of the mix. On a Netflix drama, I could follow the whispering conspirators without having to crank up the volume. That matters if you watch a lot of dialogue-heavy content like sitcoms or news programs. The subwoofer, meanwhile, is a separate wireless unit with a symmetrical flare port that Yamaha says reduces distortion. In my test, the low end stayed tight during an action sequence. Explosions didn't turn the whole room into a rattling box, yet you still felt the impact when the bass hit. If you're the type who likes to feel the rumble but not lose the spoken lines, that balance is a big win. Now, let's talk about the surround claim. The bar itself can't replace true rear speakers, but Yamaha offers optional TrueX wireless rear units that snap onto the bar magnetically. If you're willing to spend a bit more, you can turn the whole thing into a full 5.1.2 system without running speaker wires across the room. For most renters or people who want a clean look, the bar alone still gives a decent sense of width because the left and right drivers are wide dispersion, and the height channels add a bit of vertical spread. In a small apartment, you might not notice a dramatic side-to-side whoosh, but you'll still get a more enveloping sound than a plain stereo bar. Connectivity is another area where the TrueX tries to be future-proof. Built-in Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, AirPlay 2, and Yamaha's MusicCast platform mean you can stream directly from your phone, tablet, or even a multi-room speaker set without a separate dongle. I linked my Spotify and Apple Music accounts, and switching between a movie soundtrack and a playlist was seamless. No need to yank a cable or repair a Bluetooth device. The HDMI RC/eARC port handled the Atmos track without any extra configuration, which is a relief if you're not a tech wizard. The only hiccup was the remote. It's a sleek, single-button layout that feels a bit thin, and the volume keys are a little stiff. You'll likely end up using the TV's remote or a voice assistant anyway, so it's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth noting for anyone who loves a tactile feel. So, who should actually buy the Yamaha TrueX-Bar 90A? If you have a mid-size living room, watch a lot of movies or series that support Dolby Atmos, and you want a system that gives you height effects without drilling holes, this bar hits a sweet spot. It's also a solid pick for music lovers who want a wireless sub that stays tight while streaming from multiple services. The optional rear speakers make it scalable, so you can start simple and add later if the budget allows. On the flip side, if you live in a very large space, over 20 feet across, or you're looking for a truly immersive surround experience right out of the box, you'll probably need a full AV receiver and separate speakers. Likewise, if you're a hardcore bass head who wants a sub that can shake the walls, the TrueX's sub is competent but not earth-shattering. A dedicated home theater sub would outperform it. Practical strengths. The height drivers do produce a noticeable upward sound field that adds realism. The subwoofer stays punchy without overrunning dialogue. The wireless connectivity options are genuinely plug-and-play, and the system is expandable if you decide you want rear speakers later. Practical weaknesses. The remote feels cheap and can be a nuisance if you're used to a more robust controller. The bar's left-right imaging